Can you talk about cardio versus strength training when it comes to fat loss or weight loss?
Your training level, your protein, your nutrition will define whether muscle mass have to be preserved or fat loss will happen.
Losing weight rapidly and without having that strength training part.
Highly obese or highly overweight people, when they drop down huge amount of weight with fat diets and some rapid methods, you will see a lot of loose skin and saggy skin is seen in their physiology. That happens because they're not having enough muscle mass. Everybody needs to train, irrespective of whatever goal you have. Your muscle groups or your body has two types of muscle fibers. We have a distribution of type 1 as well as type 2 muscle fibers all across. It's very difficult to know which one you are having more in which particular muscle group.
When it comes to like rep range, what is something that people can start with?
Will I build muscle mass if I train for 30 repetitions? Of course, yes. Will I build muscle mass if I train only 4 to 5 repetitions? Of course, yes. Both the scenarios you will be building muscle mass. Question is which is more optimal, which is more smarter way to train.
For a beginner, how can you start strength training?
So there was a very interesting study which found that people who take longer intervals, there's slightly better growth of muscle mass. That's how the progression will happen. I would never suggest a person to increase the
Hello and welcome to the Compounding Project podcast, where we talk about taking small steps to become healthy, wealthy, and wise. I'm your host Satish Gajula, and this episode is all about health, especially exercise. Our guest today is Shanu Shashank, who's joining us from Pune, India. Shanu is a lifestyle and sports performance coach and the founder of Beyond Hypertrophy. With over 8 years of experience, he has coached more than 1,800 people worldwide, helping them achieve their fitness goals. Shanu holds a Master of Science in Performance Coaching and is an advanced coach at Fittr, which is India's largest online fitness platform. In this episode, he'll be sharing practical tools, tips, and strategies to not only help you lose fat and build muscle, but also manage injuries and perform better in sports. With that, Shanu, welcome to the show.
Hey Satish, thank you for inviting me. Firstly, it's something really an amazing experience for me to come over here. I think this will be my first podcast as a guest, to be honest. I feel really honored and grateful that you invited me. I've been watching a couple of podcasts for your site, so they look really great. I would appreciate your work, whatever you have been doing so far. So yeah, all yours. Thank you for inviting me again. Looking
Thank you.
forward to having some amazing discussion.
Exactly. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Pleasure is mine. I'm excited for this conversation. I was speaking to you before we hit record, so I was envisioning this podcast to be all about exercise for beginners, for also intermediate. Maybe if we have time, we'll talk about advanced. Can you talk about like cardio versus strength training when it comes to fat loss or weight loss?
I'll explain a little technical and practical side over here. See, both are important for a person. So when I started, I was skinny fat. So I was not knowing that I was a skinny fat. After a while, I got to know, okay, I'm a heart gainer, I'm an ectomorph. I was 46 kg with 17-18% body fat. All I could see was there was a tummy around my midsection area, a little bit of fat percentage there. So what I was thinking, hey, I need to lose that to get my abs, right? So that was my idea. I started being more and more active, did tons of cardio and lost some muscle mass in the process. I never realized the importance of nutrition, protein, and all. Of course, it happened later on. So when it comes to strength training, I think it is required for every other person. When it comes to growth of muscle mass, you definitely need to dedicate your training completely into strength part. Cardio, it actually helps in improving your like internal heart health as well. All I can say in a balanced way, people should go for a mix of strength training and cardio. You don't have to overdo cardio as long as you are active, completing your steps and doing some amount of cardio in a certain way. I think that is enough. So when it comes to dropping fat percentage, your nutrition in slightly deficit of your maintenance, uh, being regular with the weight training, and a little bit of cardio or being active, that can actually help you lose fat percentage in a sustainable way. Now, a lot of times people ask you why we do strength training. See, we have to understand that our body understands something in a way that it tries to prevent which is required for it in the long term. So if we keep on doing cardio, body understands that you don't need to use a muscle mass in the long run. So it starts losing muscle mass. Obviously, this whole scenario happens when you are in deficit. So let's say this is your maintenance calorie and you're eating over here to lose fat, right? So first of all, the question comes in, okay, if you are in deficit, so you will be losing weight. Now the question is whether you lose fat percentage or muscle mass. Here, the role of training and protein and all, comes into picture. If you are doing strength training regularly, so you are giving your body a reason ki, hey, look, you need to use this muscle mass in training and in several other, things in the day-to-day life. So let's go into the fat cells. So that's how the fat percentage goes down. Obviously, in the initial level, the blood glucose में the energy that you have that is dropped down. Once that is depleted, then it switches to alternate source, whether muscle mass or fat mass. Your training level, your protein, your nutrition will define whether muscle mass have to be preserved or fat loss will happen. If you eat very less amount of protein, you go in a bigger deficit, and your calories are very less, then there's a chance that you might even lose muscle mass. Because when you're in deficit, there is a possibility that you might lose muscle mass as well. So that's where all I can say to summarize that if you want to build muscle, obviously strength training is important, but if you want to lose fat percentage, strength training plays a key role along with higher activity levels and nutrition.
This is great. I wish I had known this concept when I first started my fitness journey, because I was not focusing on building muscle at all. Because like whenever at that time, our most people's mindset was basically like building muscle. Right? We are actually adding more muscle. So I don't want to like increase my weight. I want to decrease my weight. And why would I do a strength training is what my approach was. But you mentioned it like really well, like body like holds on to fat, because if you come talk about evolution and hunter gatherers stuff, right? Body body fat is basically as a storing mechanism, so that when there is no food, like it'll tap onto that fat, versus like muscle, it's actually expensive to maintain muscle, right? So if you don't have that stimulus, so it's easy to lose muscle. Yep.
See, I have this example which I would want to highlight. I would say, Satish, let's say I ask you tomorrow to go into a desert area and I give you a choice. You have some food items and a little bit, or maybe an adequate amount of water. And you know that you have to stay in the desert for maybe next 2 to 3 days. So what will you choose? Whether you'll choose water or food? You might choose water, right? So because you know that your body cannot survive without water, you'll dehydrate in an area like desert, right, where the humidity, like the temperature is really really high and it's completely dry. So automatically body and your mind behaves in that manner. कि, okay, this is something which I'm not getting. I need to preserve it. So that's a very similar kind of mechanism happens when it wants to drop the fat percentage. Let's say instead of training with weight, suppose you want to lose fat percentage and you're eating within your maintenance calories, slightly lesser than that, and you're doing every day maybe an hour of cardio or more of cardio, okay? Running on the treadmill, elliptical, whatever, and you're not doing any strength training at all. So after a while, you will be losing some fat percentage for sure, but along with that, you'll be losing huge amount of muscle mass. And after a while, you will be definitely switching to losing more of muscle mass because body is not needing it at all. So it will lose more and more muscle mass. That's why you will see a lot of people, especially the highly obese or highly overweight people, when they drop down huge amount of weight with fat diets and some rapid methods, you will see a lot of loose skin and saggy skin is seen in their physiology. Right? It does happen with people. That happens because they're not having enough muscle mass.
Interesting, and I can always see those examples. Even in my family, also there are, we go with this extreme, right? Whenever let's say we attend, there is a wedding that's coming in in the 6 weeks, and they want to, lose weight, and then they would just rapidly go on to these fat diets, and then they would lose weight, but in terms of like appearance, right? Or questions from family members, they're like, okay, are you okay? Like they feel like they look like a patient when it comes to losing weight rapidly and without having that strengthening part. So now I think we established the foundation when it comes to strengthening, why strengthening is important to preserve that muscle mass, and also to give that a tone look as well, and it has got ton of benefits. So we know the importance. So let's start with maybe, so for a beginner, so what can he do to start strength training? Because I mean, I myself as an example, I went to the gym. I was just copying other people's workout, and then that's how I first started. But let's say for a beginner, how can you start strength training?
We'll get back to the episode in just a few seconds. 94% of people who watch this channel haven't subscribed. If you're enjoying this episode, can you do me a quick favor and hit that subscribe button? It helps the channel grow and brings in even more guests so that I can provide more value to you in the future episodes. Now, back to the episode.
This is a little subjective depending upon the goals. 5 years back, if you would have asked me, I would have told you, Satish, do some warm ups and start with basic weight training. So this was me 5 years back. Obviously, you evolve with time, you learn a lot of things. Today, if you are asking me this question, I might not tell you, कि Satish, okay, just go to the gym and do those exercises. Actually, I'll explain it in a way where you divide your workout into 2 or 3 splits. Understand that your workout when you go to the gym, one part is your warm up, which is mostly dynamic stretches and mobility drills, where certain stretching of the muscle tissues happen, but a movement around the joint will happen. Okay, this will actually warm you up and prepare your body or elevate your blood temperature, and also raise the temperature of your blood basically, and also prepare your muscles before any movement or any intensity coming into it, any kind of stress. Next is your conditioning, which is actual training, where you train the certain muscles or whatever training you're doing, whether it's cardio or weight training. Then is the stretches, which is static stretches, like the cool down part. Not everybody will be needing cool down unless you need a lot of flexibility or if you're going through some stiffness. Once in a while you can, as long as you are doing dynamic stretches and mobility regularly. If you're doing that regularly, you might not need the flexibility exercises every now and then. Once in a week or so will be enough, because you don't need to stretch or lose the elasticity of your muscles. Now coming to the actual training, as a beginner, all I can say is ki, first of all, the aim should be to get oriented to the gym environment and machines. Focus on getting consistent rather than thinking about results. Because the moment you step into that, you are actually, signing an agreement. Okay, this is something which I realize. This is important for me in the lifelong thing. I might do weight training regularly in a week, maybe 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, whatever is suitable for you as per your lifestyle. So maybe 4 to 5 days, because that gives you ample number of days to train all the muscle groups equally. So when it comes to understanding the muscle groups or the anatomy of a muscle, I want to simplify it to several muscle parts. I don't want to take scientific names. I'll keep it very simple. You have your arms, like you do this movement, right? So these are triceps, these are biceps. You have your shoulders, Shoulders also have three smaller muscles within them. Then you have your back, posterior chain. Then the anterior, you have your chest and core, right? And then the lower body, the legs, glutes, hamstring, quads, calf, and all. So now you understand, okay, these are all muscle groups which everybody needs to train, irrespective of whatever goal you have, because we need to function, right? I mean, you are functioning on day-to-day life, so you need to keep moving those joints, you need to keep moving those muscles, so you need to train. So the easiest way would be to pick up machines for these exercises. Because as a beginner, there is a possibility that you might be coming off a very sedentary routine. You might be heavier on the weight. Your posture might not be right. Maybe you might be having some injuries. Or let's say you're not very aloof to the entire gym environment, because a lot of times it can be intimidating for people, right? So the first and foremost, when you go, think of machines. See all the equipments and machines. No dumbbells, barbells. Just go with the equipment. Because let's say, for example, I'll give an example here. Let's say leg extension. If I want to train my legs, I might choose leg curl and leg extension for quadriceps and hamstrings. Why? Because if I'm going to train them, I don't need to go any unsupported movement. I don't need to train in dumbbells or barbells, and there's no fear of falling forward or injuring my back. The support is there in the back side of my body. I'll just move the leg and do the extensions around the knee joint area. So these are isolation exercises and machine supported compound exercises mostly. So maybe you can rely that. That's why I was saying, the first and foremost thing should be get oriented to the machines. Whether you are in India or outside India, you can simply go to the gym, see the machines, and ask the person over there. And most of the times now, all these machines have platings written over there. There are the names of exercises, and the diagrams are also mentioned over there. Plus, you can ask the trainers in the gym or the management key, what all machines are these for? And then you can Google across as well. There are so many applications these days where you get sample plans as well, beginner sample plan. So you can just look for these exercises. And for example, legs may you can do leg extension, like leg presses, calf raises. Back may you can do lat pull down. This lat pull down is there. Seated rows are there. Back supported rows, like incline bench supported rows. Chest may you can do chest presses or pec flies with dumbbells as well. If you have a machine, well and good. Most of the time these days, every gym is having chest machine as well, and then shoulders also similarly. For biceps and triceps, you can use cables. That's pretty easy because you can put the minimal weight over there. So something around these can be done. Initially, the idea should be getting acquainted to these movements. The movement around your joint should happen for all these muscle groups. And obviously, before that, you have to do the mobility exercises. That I'll explain again. I'm just explaining the conditioning part. Now you know your variables over here. From each muscle group, you have one or two exercises. For legs, I told you in the initial level, you have leg extension, leg curl, leg presses, calf raises. These exercises are, I mean, machines are there in most of the gyms across the globe. For back, you have lat pull down, seated rows, or machine supported rows, right? Chest may you have pec flies, you have chest presses machine, shoulder lever, shoulder press, and cables for biceps, triceps. Now, Using this, maybe you can do one set for 10, 12 repetitions, somewhere around that, whatever you're comfortable with, to start with the training. Okay. Let's say day one, I go to the gym. I can just train my upper body with shoulders and chest, or maybe arms. I can just add one set. So basically, when you do a certain exercise for one occasion, that is complete one set. In that one set, you do multiple repetitions. Those are called repetitions. So let's say if I keep moving this multiple times without any pause, so these are my repetitions. Now, when I pause, I take a break. This was one set done. After a break, I can start again. So that will be my second set and so on. So so just to explain, I know a lot of beginners might be watching this, so I went a little bit in a layman term over here. Now, so let's say you start with one set for each exercise. So you can go with any combination, go with upper and lower split, or you can go with a full body workout as well. But for an initial 1 week, get used to machines, get used to movements, because there will be a lot of corrections that will happen as and when you move ahead with the weeks to train. Once that is done, then slowly switch to dumbbells. If you're not aware, again, you can refer to several apps, or you can go to the gym trainer and ask which all exercises can be done with the dumbbells for those muscle groups as well. Just increase one or two exercises for each muscle slowly. Once you're done with that, then you can think about progression. Because see, as a beginner, the initial 1 month will go only in getting yourself confident enough to go to the gym regularly, right? Because you'll be seeing a lot of other guys who are maybe much huge than you. They might be having a better physique. And when you go and step into the gym for the first time, you might feel like, oh man, this is something which I don't want to see. You might get intimidated. So I think the first thing is to just get used to the routine. Allow yourself that time. See what is being going on. So that's how a beginner can start off in the actual training. And obviously, this is a little subjective and very complex, because on my experience, I can share this. When I coach people, every other individual comes with a different background. There can be two people with the same beginner level, but one might do or adapt to a certain exercise earlier as compared to other, depending upon the physiology or the lifestyle or the history that person is coming from. So this is the conditioning part in the training.
You mentioned a good point there when it comes to like barbells and dumbbells, right? It's I mean, we look at other people, like when it comes to like gym, and then other people see look at them lifting heavy weights, and then for a beginner it's mostly like ego lifting, basically, like look at them and then like all this heavy weights. But one problem that you mentioned is like it's more likely to get injured when we use, for a beginner who hasn't like lifted weights ever in their life, it's more likely to get injured. And that's one of the reasons why you mentioned like going for machines and to get used to it is to reduce the risk of injury, right? So yeah, do you have anything to add there?
Yeah, I mean, see, not that you will get injured with dumbbells. See, idea is to just build the confidence and play safe. Because when you are going for the first time to the gym, let's say you don't have anybody to guide you. There's no coach with you, no trainer with you. You're just seeking advices, Googling around, and maybe you might be having that one best buddy in the gym who does really good workout, and you saw that person, so he was like, "Chalo, I'll accompany with that person," and he might tell you, right? Okay, this is a workout which you're supposed to do. So you might also do that, the bro workout, which a lot of times goes around the world. So that's why I was saying, it's better to start with machines and then switch to dumbbells and barbells and more exercises.
And in terms of like structure, right? So you mentioned exercises for different muscle groups, and I mentioned this previously when I first started my gym. I used to go and then do exercises where the machines are available, or at least if I see somebody doing it, when he's done, I'll just go and do it, right? So how do we, let's say for a beginner, we'll look at two possibilities. So a beginner one, maybe he has time to work out 3 times per week, right? And then there's beginner two who has time to work out 6 times per week. And then let's see how we can structure his workouts instead of just randomly going to the gym and then doing all the exercises or whatever comes to mind or whatever machine is available. So I feel like if you have a structure, then it's more likely to be followed, right? So can we look at these two possibilities and then see how we can structure our workout plans?
So it's a good question, Satish, because see, in day-to-day situations, I do get such kind of scenarios or case studies where people come in and they might be having certain kind of challenges, or the lifestyle is that they can't go to the gym more than 3 to 4 days. So I can't be rigid. Nahi, yeah, you need to have to go to the 6 days or 5 days. You need to manage around that, because not every other person comes to build six pack, right? So when I coach people, I see in that mindset, okay, this is a situation. If a person is able to do 3 days of workout from the point where he was not doing anything, it's a great thing, right? So 3 days, obviously, let's be realistic here now. 3 days, you'll have a little lesser time. as compared to a person who's gone for 6 days. So what I'll do, my mindset is ki bare minimum. Go with bare minimum, which saves a lot of time. So practically for the 3 days, you can go with something like a full body split if you're into 3 days, where you can just train one or two exercises for almost each muscle every day. I know a lot of people have a confusion about split of the workout. Maybe I'll explain that later as well. When it comes to split, trust me, any split works. As long as your body is able to recover, as long as you're providing enough stimulus to your muscle groups within a week or within a microcycle, and enough stress plus recovery both to grow. Frequency of training that muscle might vary depending upon your experience. So for 3 days, I'll always see okay, there are minimum amount of days, and how will I train all the muscles equally well? So maybe I can train one day shoulder presses with liver shoulder press. That's a machine. Maybe I'll add incline machine press or pec fly. I can add lat pull down. I can add seated row. 5 exercises done. I can add leg extension, leg curl. Day one, 7 exercises. Because you are training only 3 days, so obviously you'll have to go a little bit more with the exercises. Day two, maybe I'll switch to some other set of exercises, standing shoulder presses with dumbbells or barbells. I can go with squat, dumbbell sumo squat, or if you're good with some other exercises of or variations of squat, I can add that as well, or Romanian deadlift. I can add single arm row, I can add bent over rows, right? Day three, maybe I can again add some other exercise of shoulders, lateral raises, rear delts fly. Chest mein, I can switch to dumbbell chest presses or barbell bench press. I can add barbell rows in back. Then I can add one or two exercises for biceps or triceps because we haven't trained for the other 2 days. So overall training, muscle group wise, we are targeting over here in these 3 days where we are doing a full body workout. One question which people might come up, ki where is the core and abs? So my idea is ki when you are going through a limited duration in the gym, don't spend too much of time there in doing those exercises which can still be done at home. Why not bring in 10 minutes of extra time at home and do some core exercises there itself? You can take out, right? Anybody can take out. You can do some crunches, you can do variations of crunches, reverse crunches, bicycle crunches, leg raises, plank is there, isometric holds, right? 4 to 5 exercises, 10 minutes, 2 days. I think 2 days of core at home, other 3 days of actual training. Plus, before this, in the pre-workout, add 4 to 5 mobility exercises. I can name them as well. These are very common exercises. You can Google and find out anywhere. Glute bridges are there, cat camel is there, Superman reach out is there, hip circles are there, you have hip hikes. So basically, when it comes to mobility, na, so mobility is how mobile you can be. Around now, when it comes to mobility in training, that is something related to the mobility around your joints. What is the range of your joint? For example, let's say this is my elbow joint. So this is what is my range over here. So for this, the improvement of this mobility or this range of motion, we do the dynamic stretches or mobility before the workout. So maybe you can pick up 4 to 5 basic exercises to do them initially before the workout or even at home, and then straight away start with those 3 day split which I told you with select exercises and just add two sets. See how it is going. If you feel ki, I can do more, increase the set for or repetitions for those exercises week after week. That's how the progression will happen. I would never suggest a person to increase the load initially because there is a possibility that you might fumble with the form and injure yourself. So a better way would be to go about with adding repetitions or sets initially if you're confident enough with that exercise and movement. Then maybe you can add or increase the weight in the weeks to come. So this is a 3 day.
Not everybody has time, especially for a beginner. We get motivated and then we do these 6 day workouts, and then we don't see results and we give up, right? But 3 days is something that I feel like people can manage, so I want to spend some time. So you mentioned, okay, full body, like some exercises, maybe on a Monday, Wednesday and a Friday, let's say, we'll keep. And so in terms of so you mentioned sets, like maybe we can start with 1 or 2 sets. And how about repetitions? What's an ideal, like is 5 rep too low, or is like 30 reps too high? So when it comes to like rep range, what is something that people can start with?
I might take a little more time with explaining this because it's a good concept which we are coming into. So higher reps and lower reps, I know a lot of people will have this question. So simplify to simplify it, it's see your muscle groups or your body has two types of muscle fibers. One is type 1 muscle fiber, which is the endurance fiber, which can be trained for more number of repetitions or more volume. Another one is type 2 muscle fiber, which is further divided into type A and type B. Okay? These are fast twitch and these are the strength and power fibers, strength fibers basically. Okay. Now, for a person, let's say you go to the gym and you're training some particular exercise for the first time. Let's say I'm talking about dumbbell chest press. Now, let's say Satish, you pick up 2 kgs or 3 kg of weight. tell me, when you go to the gym, 2 or 3 kgs ka weight you're picking up for dumbbell chest press. There's a possibility, of course, that you might not be able to do that much weight as well. But ideally, if you start with a very low amount of weight, there's a possibility that you can go with more reps, right? And let's say I tell Satish, now today you are entering to the gym for the first time. Rather than 2 kg, I tell you, "Okay, Satish, go ahead and pick up 15 kg. What will you do?"
It might be too much. I can't do more reps.
You're not right. So that is where the higher reps concept is coming for the beginners. So why not go with something in an easy approach? So pick up a lighter weight where you can build your confidence, create the muscle cut training adaptations, the mind muscle connection as well. And obviously, as and when you keep doing the movement, the muscle memory is built up. So do more repetitions initially and more sets or more volume to build up that confidence, build up that neuromuscular adaptation, then slowly increase the weight. Initially, there is a possibility that while training in this scenario, you might be training more of type 1 muscle fiber because you're going with higher reps. So ideally, if you still ask me a number, if we talk about the metrics over here, for beginners, I would say anything around 10 to 15 or 15, 16 repetitions should be enough. Anything around 10, 15. Because what happens now, if you go beyond 15, 16 repetitions, you're trying to create a lot of muscle fatigue. So let's say if I pick up 2 kg dumbbell chest press, and let's say I'm able to do 15, 16 repetitions very comfortably. So that's a sign that I'm building up good strength. It doesn't make sense for me to keep on doing 15 repetitions or 16 repetitions or further than those number of repetitions with just 2 or 3 kg. Maybe I can switch over to a slightly heavier weight. I can go to 5 kg and maybe I might be able to do 10 to 12 repetitions. So this is how I'm also creating my training adaptations with a slightly higher intensity, heavier intensity, right? This is again muscle, type 1 muscle fiber. Our bodies now, we have a distribution of type 1 as well as type 2 muscle fibers all across. It's very difficult to know which one you're having more in which particular muscle group, type 1 or type 2. With time, with obviously years of training, you will understand that. And at the same time, it can change as well, depending upon what kind of training you're doing. Now, as and when you build up your foundation, you slowly go ahead with the training, you might feel, okay, now I can do 15 kg, right? So after 3 months, I'll ask you, Satish, today can you do dumbbell chest press 15 kg? You might say, yeah, Shanu, I might, right? So probably then you might say, okay, I think I'll be going with 7 to 8 repetitions. So this 7 to 8 repetitions somewhere close to type 2 muscle fibers. So when it comes to type 1 muscle fiber, anything beyond 9 or 10 or 15, 14, 15, these are type 1 muscle fiber. Okay, slow twitch one or endurance muscle fiber. Anything from 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9 in somewhere around in that range, usually 6 to 8 range is type 2 muscle fibers. Now for hypertrophy, hypertrophy means growth of muscle mass in simple terms. Ideally, as per the evidences, it has been found that anything between 6 to 10 or 12 or 6 to 15, we usually say 6 to 12 or 15, because within this range, you're training both your muscle fibers. You're training type 1 as well and type 2 as well. Let's say I'm doing 4 sets of dumbbell chest press. I start with a lighter weight and I do the first set for 13, 14 repetitions. Second set, I increase the weight, I go to 10 or 9 repetitions. Third set, I increase the weight and I go to 8. Fourth set, I go up 6, right? So overall, type 1 say I switch to type 2 slowly in that same set for that exercise, right? So I'm training both the muscle group. That's why as per the evidences for a typical hypertrophy, ideally, it is suggested to train within 6 to 12 or 13 or 14 reps. Going beyond that doesn't make sense. Now, I told you, right, it will go a little longer. So uh, a question might come up, will I build muscle mass if I train for 30 repetitions? Of course, yes. Will I build muscle mass if I train only 4 to 5 repetitions? Of course, yes. Both the scenarios you will be building muscle mass. Question is which is more optimal, which is more smarter way to train. To achieve a certain stimulus, as in when you want to grow your muscle mass, you need certain kind of stress. Your muscles grow out of stress. See, there's a saying, right? You grow when you're thrown out of the comfort zone. Same way, your muscles grow when they are thrown out of the comfort zone. You're very comfortable by doing 10 to 15 reps. Now, let's say I say, Satish, today you go and train 20 reps for that weight. You'll be thrown out of the comfort zone. You started creating that stress to your body. Your benchmark was here. I asked you to do here. Same weight, lighter weight, but both more repetitions and more volume. Strength was over here. I said, Satish, today instead of training 8 reps with 15 kg, go ahead and do 20 kg with 6 reps. Stressor was here, now it goes here. You are thrown again out of the comfort zone. Both the ways you'll be growing the muscle mass because the volume is almost equated. I'm not giving the exact numbers right now, but both the ways are correct. But again, coming to the actual answer of, optimal solution, a better way would be to increase the intensity rather than going with that much amount of repetition. Because by the time you create that kind of stress with a very lighter load, your body is already fatigued up. So there's no point in going to that level. It's like, doing a donkey work. So be smart when it comes to training, save energy, and train all the muscle fibers equally well.
Okay, yeah, that's great. So this 6 to 15 repetition range is something that okay we can for a beginner we can target.
Because see, if you go slightly lesser with the repetitions more towards power, there's a chance that you might get injured as well. So there's no point, right? And I always say for beginners that you challenge yourself with last set towards the exercise after a few weeks of training, because there they don't have any benchmark as such, and until and unless they challenge themselves, they wouldn't grow from there. So it's always safer to tell them to train with a lighter load, slight or moderate, light to moderate load, and try to challenge towards last two sets for as many repetitions as you can. You know, train till failure. With obviously with machines and cables mostly initially and dumbbells, especially when the exercises where they're more comfortable. So that will help them understand ki how they can grow, they can challenge, and in a safer route.
Got it. Okay, yeah. So we discussed about sets. We discussed about repetitions. One thing is like the break between the sets. Between the sets, we have this rest period, and I see people taking like 5 minutes rest, and also I see people taking like 30 seconds of rest. So at least for a beginner who is we're talking about, what is something that the optimal rest between sets that he can take.
See, this is subjective to technicality and situational as well. Now, let's say if you are in a gym which is really crowdy, you might take longer rest intervals as well. And at times you might rush into an exercise very early because you want to finish that off and send it, I mean, let the other person use the machine, right? So this is a situational. I would say situationally, you see what is suitable for you and just play around with that. But again, deep down, going to the technical answer of it, it is depending upon how you recover or you feel recovered after a particular set or exercise. Just observe if your heart rate is coming to normal. So ideally, there's no defined guidelines for how much rest period you should take. I know a lot of people do it like 30 seconds, 40 seconds, 45. But technically, as per the studies and as per the evidences as well, there's no defined guideline. But when you're training the unsupported compound exercises like barbell rows, deadlift, bench presses, dumbbell presses, where multiple muscle joints are engaged. So there you can take longer rest interval as well because you are lifting heavier, multiple muscles are engaged. To recover that muscle after that set immediately will take a slightly extra amount of time. But the advantage of taking extra amount of time in the long run is you are able to lift better. For example, let's say I went for a 100 kg squat today. I did 5 reps. And let's say I took 3 to 4 minutes of rest. Obviously, after that, again, I'll be able to train better because I can engage my core better. I can breathe better. I can breathe properly. But let's say instead of taking that longer period, I'm rushing into my set. I take only 1 minute of rest. And I feel I haven't recovered well. My mind is not there. So there's a possibility that I might not do that particular next set properly. I might have to reduce the weight or reduce the reps as well. So my potential gain will be reduced as well. So there was a very interesting study which did that, for people beyond 12 week span of time of training consistently, they found that people who take longer rest intervals, there's slightly better growth of muscle mass because the rest intervals were better. They could breathe properly, they could engage their core properly, and because of that, they could actually lift better. So obviously, with a span of time, let's say you are able to increase your intensity over here with extra amount of time. But let's say we don't take sufficient rest period between the exercises, intensity is not going up; it is saturated. So that's why. But as a simple thing for beginners, I can say for machines and cables, you might recover very easily. You can do it within 40-45 seconds as well like bicep curl, tricep push down, pec flies and all. But when it comes to dumbbell presses, barbells and all, it might take a little longer, and that's completely fine. Don't hesitate to take longer rest intervals. Observe your rest and observe your heart rate. If it gets to normal, then start with the next bit.
This is good. Yeah, this is great advice. I mean, like I said, I wish I had known this one when I first started my journey. It would have saved so much time, energy, and also my mental health as well. But that's good. So we believe we covered for somebody who's going to 3 days per week. In terms of before we switch on to 6 days per week, in terms of length, like time, right? I've seen time of the whole workout. I've seen people,
Yeah.
bragging about their time in the gym, saying that okay, I do for like 3 hours. Some people say okay, I do like go in, do 45 minutes and out of the gym. So when it comes to like time, does longer time, uh, you know basically mean more muscle growth, or like can we talk about this time range?
See, I would say keep it in a practical way because if you're spending 2 hours and 2.5 hours in the gym and just moving around doing nothing, so I think you are, reducing that intensity and training rhythm in the gym itself. Sometimes it might take longer because the machines are not available. So this is completely situational. All I can say, it should be around 1.5 hours should be more than enough. For a beginner, obviously, just more 1 hour is even enough for them, because initially you will do 15-20 minutes of mobility, and then 25, 30, or 40 minutes of workout, 5-10 minutes of cardio or abs or stretches, right? So 1 hour or 1 hour, 10-15 minutes is enough, because even when I designed the training plan for my people, I try to keep it as much minimal as possible, because I don't want them to get bored towards the end of the day in the gym. It happens with a lot of people. So once it is crisp and quantified, 1 hour, 10-15 minutes is enough. For maybe intermediate and advanced, 1.5 hours. It might go longer at times, because a lot of times people record videos and machines are not available, so and so. Straight answer, 1 hour, 10-15 minutes is enough for beginners. That's more than enough, actually.
Got it. Okay, sounds good. I think we covered most of, if not all of, for 3 days per week. When let's switch to like 6 days per week, we'll only talk about the differences, right? So this person has got time, maybe 1 hour, just like you said, 1.5 hour that he can dedicate 6 days per week. So would doing a full body workout every day, would that make sense, or splitting it into multiple muscle groups, would that make sense? So can we talk about this person?
Yeah. 6 day workout is like a, blessing if you are able to do that. So because for every person, like as a coach and as a trainee also, I train almost 6 days. I train almost every day, actually. I go for playing and all. So that gives me ample amount of time to do limited exercises in a day. See, there's no logic of doing many exercises in one day, like 10 or 12. My exercise routine is where I only train 5 or 6 at max exercises in one day. I do train two muscles almost every day, and I don't go by typically push or pull or something like that. I go with a split where it allows my body to recover. It meets my goal, and it helps me attain the frequency of training all the muscles twice in a week with a slight variation in the exercises. I try to do that. So 6 day has an advantage for sure. A person training 3 days and a person training 6 days. 6 days person will have to spend maybe lesser amount of time in the gym, because you have limited exercises. 1 hour you can complete 5 or 6 exercises very easily. For example, let's say I'm starting with day one. Let's say you have back and shoulders. Okay. You have day two legs and triceps. Then you have chest and biceps. 3 days. Repeat this again. Okay. You can go typical push-pull routine as well. There's nothing wrong. Any split can work. Full body workout can also work. But ideally, for a person who is going for 6 days of workout, I might not give the full body workout, because I would want to train that person with good intensity, volume, and in a more structured manner where progressively I can build it upon. And that person will understand more if he or she is targeting that individual muscle on on the specific days. So maybe I'll try to create the frequency channel over here where I train all the muscles at least twice in a week with difference in exercises and movements, and maybe I can change some repetitions and intensity in the other both the days. So let's say, again, going to the same explanation, let's say I have shoulders and back, I have legs and triceps, I have chest and biceps. Okay, again I'll repeat this: day 4, 5, 6. Day one, shoulders, back. I'll pick up 1 or 2 exercises for shoulders, maybe 2 or 3 exercises for back. 5 exercises, done. Next day, legs and triceps. I'll pick up 3 to 4 exercises, 4 exercises for legs, maybe all the machines, and then I'll pick up couple of exercises for triceps, right? Day three, again, I come chest and biceps, 3 exercises for chest, two for biceps. Done. Day four, repeat of the same movement as it was 1, 2, 3. I'll change the exercises. Shoulders and back, I'll change something else. Where I was doing lat pulls and unilateral movements and all, maybe I'll change to rowing or deadlift and all. Where I was doing legs and triceps with machines and maybe extension curls and unilateral movements, maybe, or maybe isolation movements. I'll change it to some multiple movement, this compound movements like squatting, RDLs and all. Day six for chest, maybe I'll include benches and pec flies and all, which I was not doing on the day three. So in this fashion, I can do sets and repetitions, obviously 2 to 3 sets to start with, or maybe even more. Because if you are doing 6 days and you're a beginner, so probably I might just start with 2 sets for each of the muscle groups or exercises with 10 to 12 repetitions. Once you grow out of it, you're comfortable enough, then probably I might initially add more sets or repetitions as I was explaining. And then once you get through all the movements, then I can go more towards the intensity part. So this is something which can be done. Split wise, all I can say, any split works. You can do push pull, you can add chest and shoulders, you can add legs and shoulders. Anything works as long as you're recovering enough. Talking about the number of sets. So again, going with evidences, because we go in an evidence-based approach when it comes to coaching people, whether you are coming from a general fitness or a sports or any background. So ideally, if you're a beginner, for a muscle group to grow, right, or to become stronger, around 8 to 10 or 9, 8 to 12 repetitions is, 8 to 12 sets is enough for one muscle in a week. 8 to 12 repetitions per muscle within a week for a beginner. Because, for example, let's say if you start training your legs, you know, so if you do four exercises in a week for your muscles as a beginner, 4 to 5, and two sets, so you're reaching around that, right? Practically also 10 to 12. You don't need to go to 50, 20, 30, or 40. Well, 8, 9 is still enough. I wouldn't go 12. That's a higher number. And this is again subjective, I would see how the person is adapting as well. Because these are evidences, these are on the studies and books, theories. But in real time, situation might come because there are occasions where I prepare a training plan and it looks very easy for the other person who's training it. I might just give 7 to 8 repetitions. The person might come up and tell me, hey, Shanu, I think I can do more. So then you have to go with the response and recovery for that person, right? And it varies from age group and gender and the environment where the person is placed. For intermediate, 15 to 25, somewhere around that 15 to 20 is actually enough. Number of sets per muscle group. Okay. Similarly, for advanced, it can go around 20, 25, somewhere around that, or even more at times. So again, as per the theory, one might say so many sets are not required. Yes, I agree. But at times there are individuals who have a very higher training volume adaptations. Even I am also in that category. Over the span of time, I changed my approach with while evolving through the time. But there was a time when I started. Now I would do a lot of sets. My training volume was on a very heavier side because back then we were not having this much amount of knowledge. So imagine a person coming from that kind of history. So obviously, if you ask that person today to train only 2 sets or 3 sets, it will be difficult for that person, right? So maybe the volume might go higher. So this is again subjective to the situation, to that person's adaptations as well.
Got it. Okay, yeah, this is great. I mean, I've seen like, so we have established, I think, these sets, number of sets, exercises, rep range, rest for, like, for somebody who's like, 3 days per week and 6 days per week. So something you mentioned previously is when it comes to recovery, right? So how what are the some signs of fully recovered versus not fully recovered? So what to look for? Let's say, is like, to in terms of like muscle soreness, we feel like, okay, if you're sore, then our muscles are working, right? So all this, like, or is it a myth, or like, can we talk about it?
See, there is DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness. When you start training or going to the gym or do any exercise for the first time, this soreness or this cramp will come up, maybe for next 2 3 days, and it will stay for 2 3 days. Usually it stays 24 hours to 72 hours. But as and when you keep training, you have enough water and follow your nutrition and rest, it goes away. So the ideal situation is train regularly. If you leave off your training every now and then, whenever you start up, you'll go through this soreness thing. Soreness at times is good. I wouldn't emphasize too much on it. There are people who are like, "Yeah, unless and until they don't feel sore, they are like, okay, my gym is not done." But I wouldn't call that way the right method because, see, you have to understand the essence of training and why you're training. If you're going to the gym, being fit and healthy, and then towards the end of the day, you're completely tired and sore and you can't even do the daily course. So it doesn't make sense to train, right? You went to the gym and exercising because you want to be fit, not to be sore and just lie down on the bed. So at times it can be because there are situations where you might be challenging yourself and challenging yourself in the intensity of volume in any exercise. It's not necessary with only weight training. It can be with anything. So at times soreness might happen, which is good. Maybe 10, 15 days in once that soreness is coming in because that you're trying to create that stimulus. But every now and then it's not a very wise call.
Got it. Okay, so in terms of recovery, let's say, if a
Yeah.
person, in the initial phase, right, if you're feeling sore, so can we still go work out if that person is feeling slightly sore? How can you approach this situation?
Okay. See, for recovery now, you need to analyze how your sleep was the last day. Like, let's say when you wake up in the morning, how do you feel about it? Ideally, 7 to 8 hours of sleep is always advisable, even by the doctors as well. And I also emphasize on this for all my mentees. Ki try having 7 to 8 hours of sleep and consistently. So when you get up in the morning, if you feel recovered, then see how you're feeling and how your day is planned on that day, on that particular thing. Then you can accordingly, decide, ki, yes, I can go to the gym. So sometimes, it's a very tricky thing as well. Sometimes you might feel like, okay, I haven't recovered, but towards the end of the day, you might feel like going to the gym because obviously when you woke up, you are not really fresh. So you need to see your sleep, you need to check your nutrition in that situation. And for recovery part, all I can say is ki if you're training in a minimal volume initially and you're giving 24 hours of time, approximately 24 hours of time between two sessions, then I think you will be recovered ideally. Hi, initially when you're a beginner, you might feel completely sore because you're starting exercising for the first time. But recovery will be judged by your sleep quality for sure and how you feel when you get up. And try observing and try being a little bit more mindful. Just in case you are in doubt, go to the gym. If let's say you're not able to identify whether you really feel recovered or not, there are situations right where you feel, I think I can go to the gym, but I'm not really sure will I be able to lift weights. It happens with me at times as well because mind is like, yeah, I want to go to the gym for that mental sanity as well, right? So I usually do that, and I do suggest to all my mentees, hey, look, if you feel like going to the gym and you haven't recovered, go to the gym. You might not need to train with weights and do the regular training. You can simply go and do some stretches, do some mobility exercises, train your core or abs, do something minimal, do some cardio, bring a little bit of change in the training, something that leaves you out of the monotony or the actual schedule. That way, you will give extra amount of time for your body to recover. So, see, your body never understands whether it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right? Whether it's a weekday or weekend. So, if let's say Monday was your day one, Tuesday was your day two, it's not a compulsion that day three has to be on Wednesday. You can switch over to something else on Wednesday. Maybe Thursday could be your day three, and then so on. That is how recovery can be planned.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So I think monitoring sleep and nutrition is something that I think it's a separate episode by itself, which we can like. I want to
Yeah,
do a part two on this one as well. So
sure.
when it comes to one thing I missed when it comes to sets and reps and exercises is where I've seen people talking about, let's say, like every set has to be like a failure, otherwise it's not worth it, it's not worth doing that set. So in terms of repetition, and we talked about the 6 to 15 range, but when it comes to like set, right, do we have to train every set to failure, or like when do we like stop?
For beginners, see, it's very difficult to say whether the first set will be difficult or not, and as I was whether challenging or not. So as I can say, if you're keeping 2 to 3 sets, let's say I'm for the sake of understanding, I'm keeping it 3 sets. Let's say you're doing 3 sets for a couple of exercises. So pick up the last 2 sets to challenge yourself because the first set will be like building that muscle memory. Let's say you start, in giving an example, let's say you start shoulder presses. You start with 10 kg or 5 kg, 15 reps. You did 15. Obviously, that's very comfortable. Again, you increase the weight to 7.5 or 10. You did 10 to 12. Now you know, man, okay, yeah, this is really comfortable. So, you can increase the weight slightly from there. Maybe you can go to 10 or 12.5. Now, 12.5, try to do as many repetitions as you can. Challenge yourself towards the failure. So for beginners, I can say try to challenge yourself for most of the exercises in the last 1 or 2 sets so that you don't get fatigued. Because if you start doing this method for every other set, there's a possibility that you will get really tired towards the end. As I was saying earlier, training has to be done in a way where it is recoverable as well. There's something called as maximum recoverable volume. So I always suggest couple of last 1 or 2 sets should be the one which should be top sets for you where you're creating that stimulus. The initial 1 or 2 sets will be helping you, add up to the volume and just create that muscle memory again on that particular session. So that's the thing. For intermediate, it will be slightly different because there are some other principles as well. RPE, RIR, and all those terms are there. Yeah.
Can we slightly touch upon that RPE and
Yeah.
RIR?
Okay. So there is something called as rate of perceived exertion. It's an imaginary scale, and reps in reserve. These two are inversely proportional to each other. RPE is exertion, RIR is reserve. Okay. So let's say if you train 100 kg squat, let's say 100 kg squat is your max. And if I ask you, to train repetitions, certain number of repetitions, you'll come back and tell me, Shanu, 100 kg squat is my maximum. So I can only train one repetition there. Okay. Because that's your benchmark. So what will be the exertion there out of 10? Like with 1 being the least and 10 being the most,
It's 10, right?
right?
10, yeah.
So how many repetitions are in reserve here?
There's none, like it's you're just doing one rep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So 10 RPE, RIR is 0. Let's say I reduce it to 80 kg. You might say, hey, Shanu, I think I can do, probably 3 repetitions of 4. But if I ask you what was the exertion with 4 or 5 reps, whatever you did for 80 kg, you might say, hey, I think it is 8, 8.5, right? Somewhere around that. Now, and again, I'll ask you, okay, so you were able to do 80 kg with 4 to 5 reps, right? But how many repetitions were you think that you could have done more? You might come up have told me because 100 kg squat was your max and you're training 80. There's a possibility that with 80 kg you might do 2 to 3 reps more, right? So RPE is around 8, 8.5. RIR is around maybe 2 to 3 repetitions in reserve. So for intermediate and advanced, to avoid fatigue and avoid too much of soreness, you can try keeping a method where you're keeping two or three, like 1 or 2 or 3 repetitions in reserve for unsupported compound exercises. So unsupported compound exercises are the ones where multiple muscle joints are involved and there's no support for the body, like barbell row, barbell bench press, deadlifts, squatting, RDL. All these are unsupported. Now here, multiple muscles are involved, and training till failure for all the sets will be difficult because you might not be able to recover. So for these exercises, you can keep 2 to 3 repetitions in reserve, train around RP 8.59 RPE. मतलब the exertion will be close enough to the failure, not exactly till failure. Last 2 sets, 1 or 2 sets. And with saying this, it doesn't mean that the initial 2 sets will be very easy. Try to keep it around 6, 7, something around that, because that way you'll be able to generate more of top sets. If you train very easy, because of your higher training adaptations, you might not be able to generate that much amount of stress for intermediate and advanced, right? Now, for the machines and cables and all, I always emphasize that you train till failure for the last 1 or 2 sets. You don't have to think too much about the reserves over there, because the machine may you already have the support, and the isolation exercises where only one joint movement is involved, like tricep push down or you have bicep curls and all. So there recovery will be easier, right? So there you can actually train close to failure for the last 1 or 2 sets. So this can be done for intermediate and advanced. Now, for advanced, it also depends upon how much intensity you're picking up. So intensity plays a key role when it comes to intermediate and advanced, because their training adaptations are high there because of the training age for all these years of training. So for the body to create that kind of stimulus, they can't just do with volume, because after a while volume goes over here exponentially and then it saturates. So now to grow from here, you need to bring in intensity in the picture, that is load. Tubby will be able to generate that kind of stimulus. So that's how it goes. And there are many more principles. I think this part we can cover sometime later, because periodization is a very complex topic. Non-linear periodization, reverse periodization, and all. Maybe we can do it later. That will go an entire podcast for that.
Yes, yeah, sure. Yeah, I want to touch upon those concepts, but yeah, with respect to time, we want to keep this at a very basic level, and for somebody to just start working out. So one thing I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about the mindset part here, because now we can at a high level, like, people know what to do, right? It's just, especially, like, eat less, move more. That's something that we all know, but it's hard when it comes to implement in in our daily lives, right? So you coached more than 1,800 people, and so what are some of the common challenges that people come up with when it comes to, like, dedicating time and being consistent? What do you recommend?
So firstly, I would highlight the line which you said, eat less, move more. I'm about to actually come up with a post on this with a story. So just sharing this. So, the funda of eat less, move more is not always right. I would slightly correct it. And for all the people who might watch this later, eat well and move more. Don't eat less, eat well and move more. Because, you shouldn't undernourish yourself. And I'm sure you must be knowing that India is one of those countries where a large chunk of population is undernourished, right? A large chunk of population. So eating less is not the right way. Of course, we are also in the higher number in the obese population as well. But still, the irony is that we are undernourished in certain things. So don't eat less. Eating less is never a solution to lose weight. If you eat right, but you move more and exercise well, automatically you will be losing weight. There are times, Satish, where people have come up to me, since we were talking about challenges. It comes to me that there are many cases, especially females, where they go into hypocaloric diet, as in they eat very less, 500, 600 calories. Now, because of this, they have created a lot of metabolic stress in the body. And when you exercise a lot, you're not giving enough time for your body to recover, enough food for your body, or enough nutrients for your body to recover. So automatically, again, body goes into energy saving mode. It doesn't lose from there. So it becomes very difficult for anybody to lose from there, because that person is already eating very less for a longer period of time and doing tons of exercises and doing a lot of cardio. So body is going through a stage of plateau, right? Body adapts to the situation. Now, this is one of the situations where eating less and moving more might not help you. And I do still have those cases. Some of them are really great, doing great. Some of them are recovering as well. And one of these things actually draws my attention to a point where people come up and feel a little surprised when I give them the food plan. Because we do follow quantified nutrition, I give them the plan. They're like, "Oh my God, are you sure we are trying to lose weight with this much amount of calories and this much amount of weight? So this much amount of food." Because people still have that notion that, okay, you need to eat less. But the idea is to eat well. And when I give enough calories, they are surprised, ki, okay, how will I lose weight? But the reality is they do lose. So that, mindset takes a little while to change from there. And it's also because of the conditioning. As I was saying, it happens with females because that is the conditioning in our country, right? Unfortunately, it has been there with mostly in the females, but obviously males are also there. So because they want to look good, they want to feel good, and need certain kind of validations, right? So when it comes to fitness and health, it's not so simple. It's simple, yet not so simple in our country because there are so many dynamics coming in. So since you were asking about the challenges, when we coach people, it is not simply about giving a nutrition or training plan. Challenges are about dealing with the mindset, the behavioral patterns. So for me, always I want to understand the person's behavior. Like right in the first call, I always have a very long discussion, and I believe that call is important for me than the other person because I need to know whom I'm working with, what is the mindset, what kind of picture that is coming from. Because making that person believe not only with the process but himself or herself is also a journey. And during the first call, at least I try ki okay, that person comes to at least we come into the same page so that we can work as a team. So the challenge is always about working with the behavioral patterns, the notions that they come from, the conditioning that they come from. These are the mind conditioning I'm talking about. Then there are some technical thing which is related to the physiology as well. And obviously, I deal with a lot of people with injuries nowadays, so it comes to me, and I enjoy that, of course. So people with imbalances, stability and posture issues, people with injuries, variety of injuries, back issues, knee issues, issues with ankle, shoulders as well. So, these are the challenges which we come up with. And I honestly take it as a point where I can create my impact. I never think it's as a problem. Even when I was not in, I didn't do the masters and all before also, people used to come up with certain kind of injuries. I always used to take it as an opportunity. That's how I'll grow because you'll never grow just reading the books when it comes to coaching. You seek the validation from there. The validation will be there. Ki, okay, I'm doing something right because I have a proof there, research oriented or evidence based. But then to implement that, you need to have that guts and you need to have the challenge. Ki, okay, I'll take it on. I'll read through it. There have been cases, Satish, where I was completely aloof of that condition. But then I made sure I'll read about it, seek for advices if I needed to from somebody else, and then I still do that, and then start working upon the plan. And obviously, you might make some mistakes here and there in such situations without harming anybody, but some mistakes might happen, some hiccups might happen. But then you need to hold yourself and work upon the coaching. Thankfully, it's working so good.
Yeah, that's good. I've been a Fittr member as well. For people who might not know, I've been doing it almost since 2 years. 2 years now. I'm still, it took a while for me to understand the concept of quantified nutrition and then also implement it. Also, when it comes to like mindfulness, which is something I've seen you talking about in reels. So, what is the role of mindfulness when it comes to fitness?
See, I have a firm belief of this mind, body, soul. A lot of posts that I do, I always write this mind, body, soul because I feel everything is connected. For example, let's say you go to the gym today, you're doing certain exercises and you're really stressed up because you don't want to train. You're taking it as a punishment. So when you go with that kind of mindset, you can't focus on that mind muscle connection. You will be in that hurry to complete the workout. You just want to wrap up because, okay, my coach has told me that, this exercise has to be done. This will help me. But, brother, how will it help you if you don't realize the importance of that exercise? For example, let's say you're going to train your chest muscle, you go and train your inclined dumbbell chest press. Just an example. Now, you're just doing a natural movement here, right? Pushing movement. You're not focused because you're thinking, okay, I just have to wrap it up. How will the muscle grow there? How will the actual mind muscle connection come up unless and until you are more focused there, right? So, exercising is also a kind of therapy. I'm not saying you leave off your meditation and go to this exercise therapy again, but some ways exercising is a therapy because it creates or generates all the happy hormones. Your body goes through a very little amount of stress when it comes to training, depending upon the intensity, of course. But then this stress is a happy stress. It is a catabolic stress, but it actually de-stresses in some ways as well because it throws out all the rubbish thing in your mind and brings back that focus. Any form of exercise, whether it's a cardio, running, whether it's doing some high intensity exercise or any weight training, you can do anything literally, any sport as well, any movement that always creates those happy hormones in your body, right? So we are not talking about that mind muscle connection. If you're focused, if you're aware of yourself, aware of yourself, when you go to the workout next time, you know you will be training in the right mindset, and that's how the results will happen. But if you're thinking, "Okay, okay, this is a stressful thing and you don't want to do, you're taking it as a punishment, you're not going to benefit out of it because you won't be able to challenge your potential. You won't be able to come out of the comfort zone. You will always be in that zone, okay, I just have to wrap it up. Same thing goes with the nutrition as well. You are always, thinking that this is like a stress for you to eat these kind of things. Automatically, it might not work. See, I also think in a spiritual manner over here when it comes to mindfulness, because, we are all surrounded with energies. We all are energies as well. So when you're doing a certain thing, you need to go with a feeling of gratitude and a positive energy. There is a negative side of things as well, but then if you keep on thinking negative, your mindset will go in that direction. So I always believe that gratitude is the biggest thing, and I'm sure a lot of people do. It's not something that I only know. So even when you're eating the food, there are so many people involved in serving you that food to the plate. So have that gratitude and go with a positive mindset so that you take the benefits out of it. So that's the mindfulness and awareness thing I would say I was talking about.
Yeah, no, this is great advice. I think many people can relate to it. I for sometimes, like when I'm having busy days, I'll still make some time to work out, even if it's for, like, 15 minutes or 30 minutes, because just like you said, it centers me. Right? I feel like when we are busy, like, we just, instead of thinking it as a punishment, if you feel it in a grateful way, right? And it completely, that switch in mindset helped me a lot. So now there's a quote by this in this book, Atomic Habits by James Clear. He says, like, what gets rewarded gets repeated, and what gets punished gets avoided. I love this, and it completely aligns with what you just
Yeah,
said.
I think I also have come across, and I always say repetition is the mother of all skill. So, so if you do something regularly and consistently, you take the benefits out of it. And there's something very I really want to highlight here since we are talking about mindfulness. A lot of times people come up to me with certain kind of challenges, right? When I'm talking about injuries or recovering from any kind of situation. So I see it as a situation where if you have that faith, body recovers, literally can heal literally anything, right? So you need to create that mindfulness and that faith and gratitude towards your own body and towards your own mind that, okay, we are here right now today because this is a blessing. It's a life which is a blessing for us. This is a condition right now. Let's say I'm injured today. So you can't be stressed up and thinking, "Okay, I'm injured, I can't do anything." There's always a way out. And every injury or any setback is a learning. But you need to talk to your mindset or your mind, basically, your soul, and try to create a situation, start feeling that thing. So that's why I was saying being mindful is important, and training brings that. Any kind of training, because when you exercise, you build that confidence, you start challenging yourself, you get that belief upon yourself, okay, I can do this. Tomorrow, when I go to the gym and I know, okay, I have a fear of training deadlift beyond 120 kg, I keep on training regularly. Again, that punishment thing which you mentioned, that line. I keep on doing this regularly, right? One fine day, I'll get that reward. I'll do 130 kg and I know what hard work I've done. I've been training 120 kg for like maybe let's say 1 month and I went to 130. That gives me immense sense of accomplishment and confidence. And that helps me in other aspects of my life.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, humans crave progress, and for me, like, progress
Yeah.
gives happiness. So that's very well said. So we're getting towards the end of the podcast. So I want to touch upon a few things when it comes to experts in this field. So you mentioned in a call when we talked previously, some of the names that you look up to when it comes to exercises. So what are some of the resources that people can look up to when it comes to, like, role models, or like influencers?
See, it's a gray world, I would say, because a lot of times you're not really sure. When I started with Blaine Norton, and I still follow him. I really like his podcast. I really like the explanations that he does. He has a PhD and a great person, I would say. And Blaine Norton is there. Eric Hems is there for nutrition, training pyramids. Then you have Mike. Dr. Mike is there. So these are the few names which I have been following. Plus, it's not only about the people over here. I used to follow MASS, that is MASS, where the compilation of all the meta-analysis of studies was there. So you need to get a subscription for that if you want to go into the scholarly kind of thing. So I used to read that, and more than anything, surround yourself with the like-minded people in the community where you can fetch an information, exchange information in the right ways. Now this is in general fitness and health over here. Now when it comes to sports and all, it's not only again one person. You can join in some communities where you get the information in the right manner. Like NACA is there, ASCA is there. Then you have, like, I did my masters from outside Siddhanta. So we also have a community here. So I would say think of a community where you can join in and, like-minded people exchange ideas in the right way, in a positive way, that will help. But in talking about the names, I would like in the initial level people for like for the beginners. I think Lane Norton and all Larry Kemp's and all these names are really great. You can look for these articles, blogs, posts, and you can check my posts as well. Not a great guy yet, but yeah, that maybe I'll try my best to help people as much as possible.
No, yeah. I've been following content. Yeah, it's been great, especially like this beyond hypertrophy. I'm learning a lot myself as well. So yeah, we'll definitely link them in the show notes. So we're getting towards the end of the podcast, and then there are a few questions that I ask all my guests. I call them the hot seat questions. So the first
Okay.
question is regarding action. So we discussed about a ton of stuff today. I mean, I would like watch this episode a couple times just to absorb everything, right? And it can be overwhelming for beginners. So what is one small step of action that you would recommend people take right after listening to this episode?
Start moving, start moving, I would say, and set a goal, set a purpose. See, we were talking about mindfulness. When it comes to setting your fitness and health goals or anything, I believe we always need to have a sense of purpose and intent why we are doing something. So write it down, do a journal, set a goal, and take small measures. Like as I was saying, start moving more. Don't eat less. Okay. Try including some amount of protein in every meal of your day, 10-15 grams of protein with some sources. You can Google it around as well. And try having more of fiber, more of water. Don't cut down your food. Eat whatever you're eating. Cut down sugar. Cut down overly processed food. Try eating more at home only or home cooked food. And when you go out and eat, try being a little bit mindful. Make some better choices rather than going with oily food or highly fried food, or with some grilled items or some items which are cooked with lesser amount of oil. And plan your days in such a way that you can manage your food intake as much as possible at home.
Yep, I think that's very well said. It compiles, summarizes all the conversation that we were having so far. And the second one is regarding books. I'm a big believer in books. I read a lot of books, and so when it comes to books and resources, so what are a few books that you would recommend people read when it comes to like health and fitness?
See, there are many books that can come in. For beginners, all I can say, see, I have a very strong bonding with the Fittr community. So, of course, I don't, when I say this, I don't mean to promote it over here, but I want to say that it's a lovely community because we have so many documents out there. Because when you come to reading books, now it becomes so complex for people because understanding research might not help, right? At that point of time for beginners. So maybe you can simply go to that community and read the documents or discussions and all that will help. And book wise, all I can say, find out the right people with how they're explaining the contents easily, and then do a research on those contents in a proper way. Maybe you can go to Google Scholar to read the scholarly articles, or NCBI and PubMed are the points where you can search for the researched articles if you really want to go. For example, let's say you go to Lane Norton's post, you came across some concept. Okay, you might not need to necessarily go and find the book there, but you can read that concept in the net and type in NCBI, PubMed, or Google Scholar. Find a proper research around it. Even if you are able to read a proper abstract to understand the things at a high level, that will also help. Because if I start telling books, there might be tons of books over here. INFS is something, again, part of Fittr only. For a beginner, I would say INFS is pretty good. They have some courses. You can check infs.co.in. For the sports side, I would say people can go into ASCA, NSCA, all these things are there, and they have so many articles publishing these days. So you can go in that way.
Right. Yeah, I'll link them in the show notes as well. And the third one is a rapid fire. So I would want to know more about you. So there are I'll give you a few two choices. Like let me know what comes to your mind. All right. The first one is morning workout or evening workout.
Morning workout,
All right. Chicken or eggs.
chicken,
All right. Dumbbells or barbells.
bubbles.
All right. So weight training or walking in nature.
I say both.
Okay. All right. And the last one, are you an early riser or a night owl?
Early riser. Getting more towards early riser. Moderate.
Okay, that yeah, good to know. So with that, yeah, Shanu, thanks for your time. It's been a pleasure to have you on the podcast. This is you shared a ton of information that I myself will rewatch this episode at least twice just to observe everything. So how can people learn more about you?
Firstly, I'm actually really, really glad that I was here And trust me, we spent I think, more than an hour time over here sitting around and having a discussion. And we didn't even realize. So I would really appreciate the way you conducted this. And it was an honor, honestly. Not just for saying, I really felt good by, speaking so many things on nutrition and fitness, because it's been a while that I had such a long discussion with somebody on this topic. So thank you for that. And to reach me out, see, I have my Instagram account. So beyond, Beyond Hypertrophy is also there, and Shanu Strength is also there in Instagram. And my LinkedIn is also with the name of Shanu Shashank. You can reach me out there. You can DM me. So in Instagram, both my accounts are active. Beyond Hypertrophy is my basically YouTube channel where I talk about all the content. So you can ping me over there as well, anything. And if you have something very specific, you can drop me an email at sahay.shanu4@gmail.com, sahay.shanu4@gmail.com. Coaching happens through Fittr app. So you need to download the Fittr app, and through that, coaching happens.
I'm going to link everything in the show notes. So for people like if you want to reach, have the resources right there. With that, Shanu, thanks for your time. If you found value in this episode, then please don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, trust compounding and take action now.
Thank you so much for watching or listening. If you enjoyed this episode, can you do me a quick favor and hit that subscribe button? If you like this episode, then you might enjoy this episode, which links in with some of the stuff we talked today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.